Hi, I'm Molly. I'm a physical therapist, and today we're going to talk about beginning running and some advice that you can do to improve your running form. So one of the first things to think about is to making sure that you're not doing too much too fast when you're running, especially when you're first starting out. A good rule of thumb is to make sure you're only increasing your speed, distance, and intensity of running by 10% each week, and that will help to decrease the amount of the risk of injury and the amount of strain on your joints. So the main thing is to make sure you start out slow and steady. If you've never ran before, starting with a walk-run program is really beneficial, and a great resource for that is the Couch to 5K app. This is a 4 to 5 week program that helps ramp you up into running. The next thing is you'll probably say, well, I need a new pair of shoes. So when looking at shoes with running, the best thing to think about is finding the shoes that's most comfortable to you. This will make sure that your foot feels supported and that you feel most comfortable while running. When looking at shoes, you want to make sure that the shoe is wide enough for your foot and that the toe break is at the right part. When I'm talking about toe break, it's where the shoe physically bends for the front of the toes to the heel. When you look at it when you're looking at shoes, you can test your toe breaking versus the shoe, and that will give a good indication of that your foot and the shoe match up. Then you can think about how long do my shoes last. Usually most shoes last for 300 to 500 miles. This usually runs about 2 to 6 months depending on how much you run. One thing to keep track about is the amount of wear on the bottom of your shoes and the amount of compression of the foam on the outside of the shoe. This will give you a good indication of when it might be time to get a new pair of shoes and if the shoe's wearing out. But at the end of the day, the best thing to do is to just pick the shoe that's most comfortable for you and keep that mainly as a primary running shoe versus doing other activities with the shoes. Okay, so now you're probably thinking, how can I improve on my running form, or where are ways that I can make my form better? So there's a couple very common deviations that are seen in a lot of runners. And these include overstriding, a scissoring gait pattern, or medial whipping. An overstride is when you reach your foot too far out of your body weight and out of your base of support while running, which is going to cause you to feel like you're reaching when you're running. And this will inherently slow you down because you're landing way out of where the rest of your body is. A simple adjustment for this is trying to increase your cadence, which is your steps per minute. A good way to test your cadence is ideally done on a treadmill, but if you don't have access to that, you can just set a timer on a pretty flat course. And after you've been running for a couple minutes, set the timer for 30 seconds and count how many times one foot hits the ground, and then multiply that by 4. Most of the time we think about an ideal cadence is in the high 170s to the 180s. However, what I would recommend to start is by taking what you have as your starting cadence and increasing that by 5 to 10%. Usually a good way to do this is to run with a metronome, or to if you run with music, find a playlist that matches the music beats to the steps per minute that you're supposed to be working at. So then our scissoring gait pattern is when your feet are crossing over each other as you're running. This can be seen by either taking a picture, having someone take a picture or video from behind to show you that this is happening, or if you tend to find that you trip over your heels or you hit your ankles a lot when you run. This is usually a sign of glute weakness and can be corrected with strengthening exercises. The other deviation, again, is a sign of glute weakness, and this is called a medial whip, where your hip and knee dive inward, but you kick your legs out to the side. This can be seen by having mud or dirt on the inside of your foot, or by feeling like you're kicking your hip out in a weird pattern. Some really good glute exercises that you can work on for strengthening is working on some squats, doing some side taps, doing some step-ups on a stair, or doing a bridge. And always when running, it's good to make sure that you're standing up tall, you're keeping your shoulders nice and relaxed, striking underneath your body and making sure you're propelling yourself forward to get a good, strong form. And so now you might also be thinking, but how can I tell which muscles of mine are weak? There's a couple of simple tests that you can do at home, looking at a mirror or having someone else watch you do these to see if you have weaknesses side to side and compare each leg to the other. The first one is very simple, trying to stand on one leg. And when you're doing this, trying to make sure that you're not wobbling your hips around a lot, moving forward and backwards, or doing something funny with your hips, that you're staying nice and steady. The goal is about a minute of making sure that you stay pretty steady. That's pretty good strength and stability through the hips. And again, comparing side to side. Another great test you can do is a single leg stability test, which takes 4 different tests, and you try to do 25 of each motion to work on testing each leg to the other, and then at the end you can combine the scores and see if one leg is weaker than the other and see how the legs compare. The motions that you can do for this test is a one leg heel raise, a single leg sit to stand where you're standing up and sitting down from a chair, so kind of like that, a single leg bridge, and a side leg lift. When doing these, it's helpful to have someone else to watch you to make sure that you're not changing your form or losing your range of motion. Stay tuned for more exercises and more drills to keep your running form getting better.